The night was cold, colder than Jack had ever felt before. He sat near a small fire, its flames weak and shaking in the wind. His shuttle had crashed earlier that day, leaving him stranded on this strange alien world. The sky was dark, but two large moons hung overhead, giving just enough light to see the snowy ground around him. Jack wrapped his arms around himself, trying to stay warm inside his thick jacket. But the cold kept biting his skin. The wind whispered through the trees, and every sound made him more alert. He knew this was not a safe place. His radio was dead, his supplies were low, and the night was long. Then he heard a soft sound, like feet moving carefully over snow. Jack's heart raced. He grabbed his small laser pistol and pointed it toward the noise. "Who's there?" he shouted. No answer. Just the wind. Then from behind a tree, someone stepped out. It was a girl, but not a human girl. She was an alien. Thin and tall, her skin a soft purple that seemed to glow faintly in the dark. She wore torn clothes that barely covered her. She was shivering badly, her arms hugging herself, her lips trembling. Jack stood up, gun still raised. "Stop, don't come closer." The alien girl raised her hands slowly, showing she had no weapon. She looked at him with big, silver eyes filled with exhaustion and fear. Cold," she said in broken English. "Please, warmth." Jack was confused, an alien speaking his language. But she looked weak, barely able to stand. His human instinct said don't trust her. But another part of him, maybe the lonely part, felt pity. He lowered his gun slightly. "You're cold?" She nodded quickly. "Cold? Die soon," Jack sighed. He looked at his small fire, knowing it wasn't enough for two. He had only one sleeping bag. If she stayed out here, she'd die. But if he let her too close, she might kill him instead. Still, she looked half dead already. "Okay," Jack said at last. "But no tricks. You can sit near the fire." The girl nodded, taking slow steps forward, still shivering. She sat down, a few feet from the fire, her body shaking. She hugged her knees to her chest, trying to absorb the little heat. Jack watched her carefully. She didn't make any sudden moves. She just stared at the flames, her eyes half closed. "Do you have a name?" Jack asked. She looked up. "Name? Arina. Harina, huh? I'm Jack." She gave a weak smile but said nothing more. The wind blew harder, and the fire grew smaller. Jack cursed under his breath. The wood was too wet. Soon the fire would go out. "You'll freeze," Jack muttered. Arina looked at him, her eyes heavy. "Please, I die outside. Share warmth." Jack looked at his sleeping bag. It was barely big enough for him alone. But if he didn't help her, she would die. Before morning. He wasn't sure if he could live with that guilt. "Fine," he sighed. "You can get in the sleeping bag, but stay on your side. Got it?" Arina nodded eagerly. "Yes, thank you." Jack unzipped the bag and slid in first, then held it open. Arina carefully slipped inside, her cold skin brushing against his. She was freezing like touching ice. She trembled hard, trying to curl up without touching him too much. Jack could feel his own body heat getting pulled away by her cold skin. But soon, the sleeping bag trapped some warmth between them. "You better not stab me in my sleep," Jack grumbled. No stab." "Safe," Arina whispered, her voice weak. They lay in silence for a while. Jack stared up at the sky, the moons watching over them. He couldn't believe this was happening, sharing a sleeping bag with an alien girl on a frozen planet. Slowly, her shivering stopped. He could feel her breathing steady. She was still awake, though. He could tell. "You're not sleeping?" Jack asked. Arina didn't answer for a moment. Then she whispered, "You warm like sun." Jack chuckled quietly. "Well, that's a first." She shifted slightly, careful not to touch him too much. But Jack could feel her eyes on him. She was watching him closely, studying his face, his hands, his breath. "You never saw a human before?" Jack asked. "No," she whispered. "Only stories, but you, different. You help." "Not sure if I'm helping or being stupid," Jack muttered. Still, something about her voice. Her eyes, it didn't feel dangerous. It felt lonely. Like she hadn't had warmth or kindness for a long time. Outside, the wind howled louder. The cold pressed harder against the thin walls of the sleeping bag. But inside, there was a small bubble of warmth, of life. Jack didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But tonight, they had each other. Even if they were strangers, even if they didn't trust each other yet, the cold had forced them to share the only thing that mattered: warmth. And yet, deep in his gut, Jack had the feeling this girl wasn't just cold. She was hiding something. Something he would soon discover. Jack tried to sleep, but something felt off. Every time he almost drifted away, a strange feeling brought him back. It was a quiet feeling, like someone watching too closely. He opened one eye slowly. Arina was awake. She wasn't sleeping at all. She lay still in the sleeping bag, but her silver eyes were wide open, focused on his face. Her gaze didn't blink, didn't waver. She was just studying him. "What are you staring at?" Jack muttered. Irina flinched, as if caught doing something wrong. "Sorry," she whispered. "I need to learn ... Learn what? About me?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Humans ... I only hear stories. None ever come here. You." "Not what I expected." Jack raised an eyebrow. "What did you expect?" "Monsters," she answered softly. "Stories say humans take, destroy ... burn the lands." Jack scoffed. "Yeah, some do that, but I'm not like them." "I see," she said, her voice almost like a sigh of relief. Jack adjusted in the sleeping bag, but she didn't move. She just kept looking, her eyes trailing his hands, his face, his breath steaming in the cold air. "You're acting like you've never seen another person before," Jack said. "I haven't," she admitted. "Not like this, not ... close. My people don't come together like humans." That made Jack pause. "You don't sleep next to each other? No families?" She shook her head slowly. "Not anymore. Too dangerous. We stay apart, or the cold takes us all." Jack frowned. "That's sad." Irina smiled faintly. "Is it? I didn't know. Until now." The sleeping bag was too tight, and their bodies had no choice but to stay close. Jack could feel her breath warming up, her skin less icy than before. Yet she remained awake, watching him curiously. She reached out slowly, hesitant, as if touching a wild animal. Her fingers brushed the back of his hand. She pulled back quickly. "Why are you warm?" she asked. "How is your skin like fire?" Jack chuckled lightly. "Because I'm alive, that's why. Humans have heat inside. It keeps us moving." She nodded, thinking hard. "My people ... we lost that. The cold here took our heat long ago. We only survive by taking warmth from others." Jack's heart skipped. "What does that mean? You drain people's heat?" She looked away, ashamed. "We do. When we must, but it hurts them. I won't do it to you. I promised." Jack studied her face. She seemed honest, her eyes sad, but hiding something deeper. He sighed. "So you're just gonna stare at me all night?" Irina's cheeks darkened a blush, perhaps. "I need to understand." "Before you go," Jack chuckled again. "Go where?" "My ship's gone, my radio's dead. I'm stuck here." At that, her expression changed. She looked almost happy, like the idea of him staying was good news. "You'll stay?" she asked. "Not by choice," Jack muttered. "But yeah, unless a miracle happens." Silence followed. Jack shifted again, trying to get comfortable. Then, he heard her whisper something in her own language. A soft chant, almost like a song. He turned to her. "What was that?" She paused, then answered quietly. I was marking your warmth. So I remember it, so I can find it again. Find it again? Why? Arena smiled sadly. Because no one like you ever comes twice. Jack stared at her, unsure how to respond. He'd never been studied like this before. Never seen eyes that looked at him like he was the last campfire in a winter storm. What happens if I die? Jack asked. Suddenly, she looked straight at him, her silver eyes serious. Then I will die too. Because I used your warmth tonight. If you die, it leaves me cold again. Jack swallowed. That's dark. Arena nodded. That is our way, but you are different. Maybe you'll live, maybe I will too. He looked at her closely, realizing she wasn't just studying him. She was trying to remember everything about him. His face, his scent, his warmth. As if afraid he'd disappear by morning. Jack closed his eyes. Fine, stare if you want. But at least try to sleep. I'll try, she whispered. But even with his eyes closed, he could feel her gaze still. On him. Out in the distance, something howled a deep, terrible sound that echoed across the frozen plains. Jack's eyes snapped open. What the hell was that? Arena's voice turned sharp. Hunter. It comes when warmth is near. Jack felt a chill that wasn't from the cold. Great. That's just perfect. Arena looked at him with urgency. If it finds us, it kills us both. Unless ... Unless we do what my people do. Jack frowned. And what's that? She leaned closer, her eyes glowing faintly. We bind our warmth together, hide as one, otherwise it smells us both. Jack stared at her unsure. Bind? What do you mean? She pressed a hand to his chest, her skin no longer freezing. Sleep close, she whispered, or we die together. Jack gulped. The night just got a lot more complicated. The night was silent until the howl came. It wasn't a normal animal sound. This was deeper, longer, and full of hunger. It echoed across the frozen trees like a warning from the planet itself. Jack sat up fast, his eyes wide open. The sound made his skin crawl. The fire outside had died out long ago, leaving only weak red embers. The cold rushed back into the air like a living thing. What was that? Jack whispered. Next to him, Arena's body froze. She didn't speak. At first, then she muttered one word, her voice shaking. Hunter. Jack looked at her. What kind of hunter? She turned her silver eyes to him, her face pale with fear. It smells warmth. It hunts anything that breathes. Another howl answered the first, closer this time. The ground felt like it trembled slightly, or maybe that was just Jack's imagination. Jack grabbed his pistol. If it comes here, I'll shoot it. Arena shook her head fast. No, guns make heat. Sound. It will call more. What do we do then? Sit here and pray it leaves? Arena pulled herself up inside the sleeping bag, her hands gripping Jack's jacket. We must hide our warmth. We must hide ... us. Jack frowned. How do we do that? I don't exactly have a magic cloak. She took a breath. My people ... We can share heat, blend it together. If our warmth becomes one, it smells like a single creature, not two. Jack blinked. That's insane. How? Arena swallowed. We must be close, very close, touching, fully. Then ... I can hide us. Jack felt his heart pound. She was serious. But the howl came again, louder, nearer, shaking the trees. Without another word, Arena pressed herself against Jack inside the cramped sleeping bag. She pulled his arms around her waist, her face close enough that he could feel her cold breath. On his chin. Don't think, she whispered. Just breathe with me. Jack obeyed, breathing slow, trying to calm his racing heart. Then he felt it. A strange warmth between them, starting where their skin touched. It was not just body heat. It was something deeper, like a pulse of energy flowing from her into him. And back again. His skin tingled. The cold air around the bag felt less sharp, as if the space inside became its own little world of warmth. Double quotes. What? Is this? Jack asked softly. Arena's eyes glowed faintly in the dark. It's how my kind survived. Long ago, we shared warmth, joined energy, but now not many left who can do it. Outside, the sound of heavy steps crunched in the snow. Jack's breath caught. The hunter was here. Arena closed her eyes, whispering something in her alien language. She gripped Jack's hand tightly, squeezing like her life depended on it. The heavy steps came closer, slow and deliberate. Something was sniffing the air. Jack could hear the low growl, deep and wet, like something dragging heavy lungs through. Ice. He barely dared to breathe. Then a shadow passed by their shelter, blocking the weak moonlight. Jack didn't see the creature fully, but the glimpse was enough. Massive, hunched, long arms that almost touched the ground, eyes glowing like small red fires. It paused near them. Jack could feel his own sweat freeze under his jacket. The creature sniffed loudly, the sound too close, but it didn't strike. It didn't even growl. It stood there, puzzled, as if confused by what it smelled. Then, after a long moment, it turned away, heavy steps moving slowly back into the forest. The danger passed. Jack didn't move. Neither did Arena. They stayed locked together, barely breathing. Only after minutes of silence did she whisper, "It's gone." Jack let out the breath he was holding. That was too close. Arena's body was still pressed against his. She looked up, her silver eyes meeting his. "You kept me warm," she whispered. "I kept us hidden. You are stronger than you look, human." Jack chuckled nervously. "Thanks, I try." But he was still shaken. "What was that thing?" Arena answered softly. "We call it the hollow maw. It eats warmth. It doesn't care what you are. Just that you're alive." Jack stared at the dark trees where the creature vanished. "Great, a planet full of nightmares." Arena smiled faintly. "You'll get used to it if you stay alive long enough." Jack looked down at her, still close in his arms. "You seem warmer now." "Are you okay?" She nodded. "Yes, your heat is strong." "More than I expected." Jack laughed weakly. "Well, glad I'm useful for something." They stayed close, not moving away. The cold still waited outside the sleeping bag. But inside, there was something else now. A strange connection neither of them could explain. Jack didn't know if he could trust her fully yet. But he did know one thing. Whatever was coming next, he wouldn't survive it alone. And as for Arena, she was starting to believe she'd found something rare, a human who could save her kind from freezing forever. The night was quiet again, but Jack could still hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. The heavy footsteps of the hunter had faded, but the terror it left behind stayed like a cold shadow. Yet inside the cramped sleeping bag, something strange was happening. Jack felt it first in his chest, a gentle warmth that wasn't his own. It spread slowly, like a soft current, running beneath his skin. It wasn't like regular body heat. It was alive, flowing back and forth between him and Arena, as if their bodies were speaking a language without words. Jack whispered, "What is this?" Arena was still resting against him, her forehead lightly touching his neck. She spoke softly, her voice heavy with sleep but clear. "It's the warmth bond. My people's gift. When we are close, we can connect, share life." Jack frowned. "But I've never felt anything like this before. Humans don't do this." She gave a tired smile. "I know, but you have strong warmth. It answers when I call it." Jack shook his head, confused. "I didn't do anything." Arena's silver eyes met his, glowing faintly. "You did. You cared." Those words hung in the air, heavier than the cold outside. Jack didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to being needed like this, not just for protection or food, but for the simple act of being alive. But it wasn't just Arena warming up. Jack felt stronger. The cold didn't sting his skin anymore. His fingers, which had started to go numb earlier, felt alive again. His chest wasn't tight from breathing frozen air. "What did you do to me?" he asked. Arena sat up slightly, her thin arms still around him. "I shared the bond. Now you carry part of me, and I carry part of you." Jack stared at her. "That sounds permanent." Arena looked away, as if guilty. "It can fade if we part for long. But the first bond stays. You'll feel the cold less. But if I die it will return worse." Jack swallowed hard. "So, I'm stuck with you now?" She gave a small laugh. "You say it like it's bad," Jack chuckled. "Well, I've never had a roommate who glows in the dark." She smiled, but her eyes looked sad again. "You joke, but truly, I am alone. My people are scattered. Some are gone. The warmth bond is dying with us." Jack's smile faded. He looked at her closely, noticing the faint blue veins beneath her purple skin, the thinness of her frame. She wasn't just cold. She was starving for connection, for life. He sighed. "What happened to your people?" Arena hugged her knees, her voice low. "When the planet froze. Long ago, before I was born, the cold came fast. Those who couldn't bond died. Then the hunters came. They smell warmth. They hunted us down." Jack shook his head. "That's brutal." She nodded. "It is life here. That's why we don't stay together. Being alone is safer." "But being alone means dying slowly," Jack muttered. Arena looked up at him, her eyes bright. "Yes, that's why. You're strange to me. A human who shares warmth, without asking anything." Jack shrugged. "Maybe I just didn't want to see you die," she smiled. "That is enough." Jack felt the warmth still pulsing between them, softer now but steady. It was comforting, like a silent promise they'd survive the night together. But then his mind drifted back to the hunter. What if that thing comes back? Arena's face darkened. It will. Hunters always return to a scent. Jack checked his pistol, but even he knew it wouldn't do much. "We need a plan." Arena hesitated, then whispered, "There is one way, but it is dangerous." Jack raised an eyebrow. "What way?" She touched his chest again, her fingers gentle. "If we deepen the bond, I can give you my warmth fully. You'll resist the cold like me. Together we can fight." Jack looked uncertain. "And what happens to you?" Arena smiled weakly. "If you die?" "I freeze. If I die, you lose the bond. But if we live, we both become stronger." It was a gamble, a dangerous one. But Jack knew he couldn't face this world alone. Not anymore. "All right," Jack said, meeting her eyes. "Let's do it." Arena's eyes softened. "Thank you, human." She leaned closer, her hands on his chest glowing brighter. Jack felt the heat inside him surge, not burning, but energizing, like waking up after years of cold. Outside, the wind howled again. The world was still deadly. But now, Jack wasn't just a survivor. He was something more, a human with alien warmth running through his veins. And with Arena by his side, maybe just maybe, he could survive the frozen nightmare. Jack woke to a soft humming sound. The night hadn't ended, but the sky was shifting, the moon starting to sink, the stars turning pale. But inside the sleeping bag, things were changing in a way he couldn't explain. Arena wasn't sleeping. She was sitting up beside him, her eyes closed, her hands moving in slow, careful motions across his chest. Her fingertips left faint glowing lines on his skin, like trails of light that faded after a few seconds. Jack blinked. What are you doing to me?" Arena opened her eyes slowly. The silver in her gaze seemed brighter in the dim light. "I am binding you," she whispered, "so the cold cannot take you." Jack sat up halfway, confused but intrigued. What does that mean? Some kind of alien magic? She shook her head. Not magic, ritual. My people learned this when we lost the sun. The warmth inside us was not enough ... So we learned to share it, protect it. But the ritual is rare, dangerous. Jack glanced down at his chest, where he could still feel the tingling heat moving under his skin. It wasn't painful. In fact, it felt ... good, like the cold inside his bones was being pushed away, replaced with something alive. Why dangerous? Jack asked. Arena hesitated. Because if the bond completes, we cannot unbind easily. If you die, I die. If I die, you will suffer cold that never ends. Jack stared at her, the weight of those words settling on him. That's a lot of pressure, you know. She gave a small smile. You already saved me once. This is how I repay you, with my warmth, my life. Jack didn't know what to say. No one had ever offered him something like this, not even another human. And here was an alien girl, one he'd just met, willing to tie their lives together. Because of one act of kindness. What happens if the ritual finishes? He asked softly. Arena looked away shy. We ... become bonded. You will feel my warmth no matter where you are. Even if we are apart, you will know when I am alive, or ... when I am hurt. Jack chuckled nervously. Like some kind of alien. Marriage? Arena tilted her head. Marriage? Jack laughed. Never mind, it's a human thing. She smiled gently. Maybe not so different then. Jack took a deep breath. Part of him wanted to say no, to keep things simple. But another part, the part that didn't want to die frozen and alone ... knew this was his best chance. Finish it, he said quietly. Arena's face brightened with relief. Thank you ... human. She placed both hands on his chest, closing. Her eyes again. The glowing trails from her fingers grew brighter, forming strange patterns like a map of stars, or veins of light under his skin. Jack shivered, but not from the cold. The warmth filled him fully now, from his chest to his fingertips, down to his toes. His mind felt clearer, sharper. He could sense her presence, not just beside him, but inside, like a soft heartbeat that wasn't his own. When she was done, Arena's hands dropped weakly. She was breathing harder, her energy clearly spent. Jack caught her before she fell. Hey, don't pass out on me now. She smiled faintly. I'm okay. The bond takes much. Jack laid her gently back into the sleeping bag. Rest, I'll keep watch. Arena touched his arm lightly. Now ... You feel the cold less, but be careful. If the hunter comes, we must fight together. Jack nodded. He felt it already. The air outside wasn't biting anymore. He could even see his breath less than before. But something else changed too. He could feel Arena's heartbeat, even with his eyes closed. He knew she was alive, because that soft, warm pulse was part of him now. Jack stared up at the sky, wondering what he had gotten himself into. He'd come to this planet on a simple mission. Now he was tied to an alien girl with glowing eyes and strange powers, bound by warmth in a world of ice. Yet deep down, he didn't regret it, because for the first time since he crashed, Jack didn't feel alone. Morning was still far away. The hunter was still out there, waiting. But Jack wasn't afraid anymore. Arena had given him warmth. She had given him her life. Now he had a reason to fight for her, and for himself. And if the hunter came back, it would find something very different this time. A human and an alien bonded together, stronger than either of them alone. Asterisk, the sky was still dark when Jack felt it. A vibration. A deep, slow thumping that passed through the ground, through the air, straight into his bones. He opened his eyes and didn't need to ask, he knew. The hunter was back. Beside him, Arena was already awake, sitting up weakly, her silver eyes locked onto Jack's, wide with fear but also determination. It smells us again, she whispered. Even the bond cannot hide us forever, not from that one. Jack grabbed his pistol, checking the power. So we fight? Arina nodded slowly. We fight ... together. But Jack hesitated. His pistol was small, a weak human tool on a planet where monsters thrived in the cold. That thing's huge, Arina, Jack said. How the hell do we kill it? Arina looked at her own hands, her face unsure, like she was debating with herself. Then she made a choice. There is one way, she whispered. I can burn it, Jack frowned. Burn it? How? She looked up at him, eyes glowing brighter than before. With your warmth, the bond gave me more. I can channel it. But it will drain you too. Jack paused. His mind raced. If she tried and failed, they'd both be dead. But if they did nothing, they'd still die. I'll take the risk. Jack said, whatever it takes. Arina's eyes softened. She crawled closer and pressed her hands to his chest again. This time, her entire body shimmered with light like pale purple fire under her skin. Jack felt his warmth flowing into her, faster than before. It was like pouring energy from his soul into hers. His limbs tingled, his heartbeat raced, but he didn't stop her. Outside, the trees groaned. The hunter was near. Then came the growl. Deep, hollow like a cave breathing. Jack grabbed his pistol, though it felt pointless. He turned to Arina, who stood now, her body glowing with intricate patterns along her arms and neck. Let me lead, she said firmly. When it sees light, it will charge. You shoot when it opens its maw. Jack nodded. Got it. They stepped out from the shelter. The night air was sharp and dry, the world dim under the moons. And there it was. The hunter stood at the edge of the clearing, hunched and massive, like a nightmare made of bone and shadow. Its long arms scraped the ground, and its red eyes locked onto them, burning with hunger. Arina stepped forward, her body glowing brighter, and shouted something in her language, sharp, commanding. The hunter roared and charged, its steps shaking. The earth. Arina raised her arms, and her whole body ignited with a purple-blue flame. A heat so strong Jack could feel it from meters away. The hunter lunged, its mouth wide open, rows of jagged teeth ready to crush them both. Now! Arina screamed. Jack fired. The pistol's laser shot straight into the hunter's open maw, searing flesh. The beast howled in rage, staggering for a moment, but it wasn't enough. The hunter charged again. Enraged, and swung a massive claw. Arina didn't flinch. She threw her glowing hands forward, releasing a wave of burning energy that slammed into the beast's face. Purple flames clung to its skin, making it scream in pain. Jack fired again, aiming for its eyes. His shots fueled by panic but focused by instinct. The creature stumbled, blinded by the flames and light. Then with a final cry, Arina unleashed all the heat within her. A brilliant burst of light exploded from her body, so bright Jack had to shield his eyes. When he looked again, the hunter was on the ground, twitching, its flesh blackened and smoking. The snow around it had melted, steam rising into the cold. Air. It was dead. Arina collapsed onto her knees, her glow fading fast. Jack rushed to her side. Arina! Hey! Stay with me. She looked up, her face pale and drained. You ... gave me too much. I'm sorry, Jack shook his head. Don't apologize. You saved us. She smiled weakly. Because of you. I only lived because of your warmth. Jack pulled her close, wrapping her in his arms. Then stay alive. I didn't risk everything to lose you now. She closed her eyes, resting her head against his chest. And then softly she whispered, You are mine now, human. The bond ... made sure of it. Jack chuckled breathlessly. Guess I don't get a say in this alien partnership, huh? She smiled faintly. No, but you'll get used to me. As the first light of morning touched the sky, Jack looked at the dead hunter, then at Arina in his arms. He had come to this frozen world alone, but now he wasn't alone anymore. He had an alien partner. A bond he didn't fully understand, and together they had just killed the deadliest thing on the planet. But deep down, Jack knew something else. This was only the beginning. The first light of morning broke over the horizon, faint and pale like it was scared to touch this frozen world. Jack sat with Arena still resting against him. Her breathing was slow but steady, her skin no longer glowing but warm enough to prove she was alive. The hunter's body lay a few meters away, blackened, still steaming in the cold air. They had won, but Jack knew it wasn't just his victory. He looked down at Arena, brushing a few strands of her hair away from her face. "You still breathing?" Arena's eyes fluttered open, weak but shining. She smiled faintly. "Still here, ... thanks to you." Jack let out a breath of relief. "Good. I didn't go through all that just to have you die on me now." She chuckled softly, then looked up at him. "You're different, Jack. Most would have left me or used me." He shrugged. "Well, ... I'm not most people." She nodded, her eyes thoughtful. "No, you are my bondmate now." Jack blinked. "Wait ... hold up. Bondmate? What does that mean exactly?" Arena sat up, her strength slowly returning. She placed a hand over his chest, right where she had traced the glowing patterns during the ritual. "This," she whispered, "is a connection. My people only do this when we find someone worth keeping, someone who gives warmth ... and shares life." Jack stared at her, stunned. "So ... this is permanent?" Arena smiled gently. "You carry my warmth now, I carry yours. If you're hurt ... I'll feel it. If I'm in danger ... you'll know." Jack ran a hand through his messy hair. "Wow, that's a lot. I mean, back on Earth we have dating, maybe marriage ... but this is on another level." She tilted her head, curious. "Is it bad?" Jack looked into her bright silver eyes and shook his head slowly. "No, not bad. Just ... unexpected." Arena's face softened. "Unexpected things are sometimes the best." Jack chuckled. "Guess I can't argue with that." She leaned closer. "Also, you have no choice now." Jack laughed. "Yeah, I got that part." They sat in silence for a while, watching the dawn chase away the long night. The cold wasn't as sharp anymore, whether from the bond or the simple presence of each other. Jack wasn't sure. Then Arena spoke again, quieter. This time, "My people ... if any are left, they will sense the bond on me. They'll know I found someone." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You think there are more of you?" She nodded. "Maybe, scattered, hiding from the hunters. But if we find them, they'll see you. They'll know we're bound." Jack smiled wryly. "Great. So not only am I stranded, but now I'm basically married to an alien, and I have in-laws somewhere out there." Arena looked confused. "What's in-laws?" Jack chuckled. "I'll explain later." She smiled. "I would like that." Jack stood up slowly, stretching. He looked down at the burnt remains of the hunter. "We can't stay here. If that thing had a nest, others might come." Arena stood as well, still a bit shaky, but stronger with each breath. "We move east. There is a ridge. My people used to signal from there. If anyone is alive, they'll see us." Jack nodded. "East it is." They packed what little they had, Jack's half-broken gear, a few supplies, and the sleeping bag that had started everything. Before they left, Jack paused, looking at Arena. "Hey ... about this bond. Does it mean I belong to you now?" Arena smiled slyly. "Yes, but also, I belong to you," Jack chuckled. "That's fair, I guess." She stepped closer, touching his hand. "I made a promise when I bonded with you. To protect, to stand with you, whatever comes next ... I promise I will not leave you." Jack felt the warmth in her touch, not just from the bond, but something deeper. Something human. He smiled. "I'll hold you to that, Arena." Together, they walked toward the rising sun. The snow crunched beneath their feet, but the cold didn't bite as hard anymore. Jack was no longer just a lost human on an alien world. He was bonded, connected to a life he never expected, carrying warmth, not just in his body, but in his heart. The planet was still harsh. The future was still unknown. But with Arena by his side, bound by a promise neither fully understood, Jack wasn't afraid. Because some promises, even between strangers from different worlds, change everything.